All right, good afternoon, everyone. My name's Tom Graham. I'm from Avid in Los Angeles. Welcome to the audio post-production demonstration. So with me on the stage is my good friend Simon Sherborne from the UK office, and he's in front of the very nice, colorful System 5 MC console.
Hi there. Yes, so as Tom says, today we have System 5 MC. We also have two Pro Tools systems for our audio post-mix. We have a Media Composer, which we're using for video playback. We could add other systems to this configuration using the Open UCOM protocol.
We're going to do something a little bit different than we normally do at an IBC trade show, and that is give you a sneak peek, a technology preview, if you will, of some things that we're working on with Pro Tools. But in order to do that...
Yeah, we are required to play just a short message from our legal department.
The information in this presentation is not a commitment, promise, or legal obligation to deliver any material, code, or functionality. The development, release, and timing of any features or functionality described for our products remains at Avid's sole discretion.
So you could tell that the audio guys got a hold of that idea, and instead of just making it a slide that you read, we had to make it something fun. The demo material that we're using is a short film that we produced for Avid, and we use it for training and demonstration purposes. It's called Agent MX0, and it's a short action spy movie. So let's take a look at the trailer.
This is X-Ray Control. You have initiated the extraction, and we do not yet have visual. Do you copy? This is X-Ray Control 0. Do you copy?
Before we get to your impending doom, care to try your skill?
Always.
You've got company.
Not for long.
Warning. Security breach. Level 3.
You know you don't stand a chance, Zero. That's how I like it, Gemini.
Is all this violence really necessary?
This isn't in the plan, Zero. If you listen to me and stick to the plan, I'll get you in and out. No hero stuff.
Agent Sierra, that's not how I get things done.
Well, it was a lot of fun to work on, and we did it all with Media Composer and Pro Tools. Let's dive right in. So where all audio post-production start, and that's in the video edit suite with Media Composer, but alas, our video editor's gone to lunch.
Okay, no problem.
But we have our own Media Composer.
That's right, yeah. So for our video playback, we are using Media Composer synchronized with Pro Tools. And that actually gives us a lot of advantages for our workflow. So as Tom says, we can very easily go into our ISIS shared storage network and open the sequence that they've been working on. And we can export the audio tracks across to Pro Tools ourselves. We also get to see the same high-quality HD pictures that the director would have seen in the edit suite.
And that's really important, because when it looks good, of course, it sounds better, right? All right, so again, as Simon said, we're sharing on the same shared storage network. So we're going to export this AAF sequence. But before we do, why don't you take us through what we see on the timeline?
Right, yeah. So as well as the 13 video layers here, we also have 14 tracks of audio that we're going to grab. Within the audio, you can see some volume automation. There's also clip-based level information. There's a few markers here, some points that we need to pay attention to in the audio stage of the workflow. And we also have some real-time effects like this EQ. A Media Composer uses the same plugin format as Pro Tools, so we can actually hand over all of this stuff into Pro Tools. And the great thing about that is that the starting point for our mix, we hear exactly what they heard.
Great, so Simon's going to kick that export out, doing an AAF export. And he's going to do linked only, because our Pro Tools HD native system is also tied into the ISIS shared storage.
That's right, and we're actually going to just put the edit information across and play all of our media back off the network, both video and audio.
And that's because our Pro Tools HD native system, which we'll switch over to now, is also tied to the ISIS shared storage network. This is a preview of something that we're working on, the idea that we can take these large track count sessions and off of any network attached storage or ISIS, be able to load them into a disk cache or RAM, taking the entire timeline, caching it in RAM outside of Pro Tools, and thus giving us great performance, right?
Yeah, so for a start, we have very fast, responsive performance, no matter how many tracks.
Great. And so you can see both timelines comparatively here. Obviously, we have the same volume automation, but you mentioned that word clip-based gain.
That's right. So these clips have some gain information, and this is one of the major new features that we're previewing here. So we're working on this idea of being able to have a separate layer of volume automation within our clips. And we'll look at that a bit more as we go. Just to finish up then, you can see we have our markers. We also have the real-time effects come across. So our starting point in the edit suite is to hear exactly what the director and the video editor heard.
All right. Simon's got the sequence open here, and you can see the top 3 or 4 tracks there are mainly the dialogue, production dialogue bits that came from Media Composer. Now, on set, we used an 8-channel Diva hard disk recorder, and we recorded, of course, the overhead boom mic, and then separate lavalier microphones for each actor around this table. Of those 7 channels of microphones, we then recorded a mix track, and that's what was used in the Media Composer suite. But now, in our audio land, we want to get to all those separate channels, right?
Right, yeah. So we want to conform the original location recordings to these guide tracks. And this is something that we can do today in Pro Tools, but what we wanted to show you was a couple of things we're improving on. So the first is that we can now scan any drive that Pro Tools can see. We don't have to import everything in.
Which can be quite big. It could be, you know, in this case, I think there was 20 or 30 gigs of location sound.
Just for one scene, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and also the idea that we could leave them as a single 8-channel poly wave file, right?
Right. So we now support natively multi-channel files.
Okay.
Okay. So let's have a look at how we did this. So we're going to concentrate on track 2.
Right.
So you can see that we've set this to be a guide track. And we also went in and told the system where to search, so we can tell which volumes to look for the data on.
So an external FireWire drive, right?
In this case, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then it's as simple as right-clicking on the region and choose matching field recorder channels. And so now you're going to see all that same information that our production sound mixer entered on the set shows up in the ability to select. But, you know, we don't want to do this one channel at a time. That's slow and tedious.
Right.
So how about we select an entire scene?
Okay, so that's all the clips in that scene for that track.
And then let's expand the 8 channels to new tracks. So this just takes a second here. Pro Tools goes ahead and crunches the numbers and creates all of your 8 channels. We'll zoom in here and pick just one file. And you could see, of course, the name of the microphone. Simon, can you also, you mind showing the other metadata, that is the take number and the date?
Yep.
So he can just turn on what we see. So scene and take number. So this was recorded on November 10th, and it's sound ID number 33. Lots of good information. But we are skeptical, so we want to audition this and listen, right?
That's it, yeah. So there's the boom and the lab for this particular actor, but the levels are pretty low at this point.
So you're going to goose them up using that clip-based gain feature.
Right.
Very simple. In the bottom left-hand corner, you just click and drag up.
Yep.
And we'll just grab a few channels here.
There you go.
Now, we're going to use the System 5 MC control surface, and you've programmed a macro.
Yeah, so this is one of the really cool things we can do on here is we can put any of Pro Tools commands onto these smart switches. We can also set up our own sequences of commands. So this button is going to solo and play back, so I can audition with it.
Great.
The minimum for this game is a bit above your pay grade.
So that's the boom, the overhead boom. That sounds nice. Let's hear his lav.
The minimum for this game is a bit above your pay grade.
So you can definitely hear the difference between, you know, the lav's probably on his jacket somewhere, right?
Yeah, and this one here is another actor's lav, so it's going to sound off mic.
The minimum for this game is a bit above your pay grade.
Excellent. So absolutely confirming what we see in the metadata entered on set.
Yeah.
So at this point, we'd get to the business of editing and comping our dialogue onto new tracks. All right, so we'll do that. We'll sort of fast forward ahead here. We're going to close this Pro Tools session, and we'll jump to another. And this session that we're going to open is the composite of every individual Pro Tools session used on the movie. The dialogue editing, the ADR recording, the Foley, which is the footsteps and the props handling and the cloth movement, the hard effects, the sound effects, the background sounds or ambiances, and the musical underscore. And all those are combined together and then automated and mixed inside of Pro Tools. In this case, we did it on an Icon D-Control, and today we're doing it on the System 5 MC. So
right.
Maybe you could take us through the kit we're using here.
Yeah, so we're now at the mix stage, and we're using an HD native system, which we have on the stage. This is our main playback machine where most of our mixing is happening. We also have a second Pro Tools system in the machine room, which is a HD3 system. We're using that as a stem recorder, so all of our surround stems are being sent across via MADI, being combined and recorded onto the stem recorder. So as Tom says, we have about 175 tracks playing back. We also have the video, as you saw at the beginning, and all of these things are being synchronized together over the network using our satellite link technology.
And currently you can sync 5 systems together.
That's right, yeah.
And we're working on expanding that to 12 total.
12, yeah. So if you run out of tracks with 4 Pro Tools systems and a Media Composer, 12 is what you can now do.
There you go.
All right, so we also have, obviously, the console. That's giving us hands-on control of all of these workstations. So right now, the console's looking at the mixer, the main playback system. I can switch across to my recorder. You see all the faders like reallocate. And then Media Composer. And as I switch between them, all of my switches change, so I have custom control from each workstation.
Excellent. All right, well, let's open up the HD native system again.
Okay.
And again, this is our source machine. Let's open the system usage window. Now, this is a meter that's in Pro Tools. It kind of tells you how your session is running. And you'll notice the bottom row there at 83% and climbing. That's taking all the files on the timeline and loading them into RAM. So I don't know how much RAM we have in the system, but I'd guess it's in the neighborhood of 12 to 16 gig.
We have 24, actually, but we're not using all that.
Wow, fantastic. You'll notice it's green now, so we don't have to do anything else. Our entire session's loaded into RAM. You'll notice the CPU usage for our native HD system is running at about 40%. So 175 tracks, plenty of auxes, mixing in surround sound, tons of plugins and reverbs, and it just runs great. And you can see all of these tracks that we have here in our little 15-minute movie. Lots of automation. Okay, so why don't we get back into some of that dialogue editing bit, and it's in the card game scene, and I think every spy movie has some sort of a card game scene. It's an unwritten rule, I'm pretty sure. We're at the point now where we need to do a bit of editing to clean it up, so let's take a listen.
So nice to see you all again. Turk, how's the wife?
Please do give me permissions for breaking his fizz.
In due time. Now.
So you could see we definitely have some editing to do, and Pro Tools is pretty much the industry standard editorial solution. So Simon's got the smart tool. He's going to quickly go ahead and chop and drop some fade-ins and fade-outs to smooth the dialogue. If you're used to Pro Tools, you may notice something unique. The fades, as he's doing them, are real-time. There's no rendering going on or needed, or thousands of little fade files. So that's, again, an improvement that we're working on.
That's right, yeah. We can also now obviously use the clip gain as well.
Right, and there's several ways to use this clip gain. So obviously you can click in that left little corner there. Mm-hmm. How about just a section of dialogue inside one clip?
Yep, so we have a clip gain indicator there, which I can split.
That's good. And then all of Mysterion's lines there, the green there is completely too quiet.
No problem.
I noticed that one breath seems a bit noisy.
Yeah, here where Agent Zero sits down and lets out a big breath.
Yeah.
So we can actually dynamically change this as well. So it's not just a static gain setting. It is actually dynamic automation. And you can see it's moving in real time as I move that around.
Right, very responsive. Okay, are we ready to hear what you've done for us?
Yep.
So nice to see you all again. Turk, how's the wife?
Please do give me permissions for breaking his fizz.
In due time. Now.
Not bad. You've done better.
We've done better, yeah.
but not bad.
And just one thing to point out, this is a separate layer of automation to our fader automation. So the mixer can start with flat faders, as you can see if I switch that over.
That's great, right. So this is what the editor would do to pre-mix it.
Right.
Excellent. All right, so let's have another look at real-time fades and clip-based gain working together. So we've got a background track. Essentially, they're in a private room of a casino, and there's a bit of casino noise bleeding through. So let's take a listen to the edit here. So it needs some help. So
yeah.
What we'll do is grab a big chunk for a fade here. And you'll notice now the incoming and outgoing waveforms are overlapped, so we get a really nice view of the incoming and outgoing. Mm-hmm. And as you nudge it, it updates quite nicely. That's great. Mm-hmm. And it'll also respond to the clip gain working with it as well. So you can see we can really sort of judge visually and confirm what we're hearing as well. So that's great.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. On to the next bit, and that would be some file-based processing, some of the improvements we're working on there. So our super spy here, Agent Zero, is getting some of his intel over the wireless earpiece in his ear. And this lovely agent here, she's feeding it to him from the headquarters. So when we see her, she should sound normal. But when she's off screen, we should hear as if it's transmitted through the earpiece, right?
Yeah, exactly, yes. So we're going to process the clips where she's off screen.
All right, should we listen to one?
Let's grab one of these. Just bring that up.
What's with the radio silence? You need to answer me when I call, understand?
And we have a plugin that is really good at doing this. But what we want to do is we're going to actually, rather than do a real-time kind of mixing sound, we're going to do this as a file-based process.
Yeah, so we can hand it off to the Media Composer people, or it can go to another dub stage that maybe doesn't have the same plugins we do, right?
That's it. So we're going to use the audio suite process.
All right, so this is called Futzbox. It's one of our third-party developers, McDSP. It's a great plugin. And we've stored a preset that is the headset sound. And let's hear how it sounds in the convention center here.
What's with the radio silence? You need to answer me when I call. What's with the radio silence? You need to answer me when I call.
It's a bit overdone there, so let's...
Yeah, so you're going to tweak the settings a bit.
You need to answer me when I call. What's with the radio silence? You need to answer me when I call. What's with the radio silence?
Okay,
that's not bad.
Happy with that.
Answer me when I call. All
right, so you're going to process that, but I kind of would like to add another layer of effect on top of it. And
all right.
Currently with Audio Suite, you can really only have one window open at a time, so it's a bit limiting, but something we're working on is the ability to have multiple Audio Suite windows simultaneously.
Yeah, so it's much more flexible to work with.
Yeah, and you've got this sci-fi plugin. It ships with Pro Tools, correct?
That's right, yeah. And you may spot that we've actually changed the way that looks, so that's one of the things we're working on is updating the UI on the plugins.
Great. And let's hear that effect.
What's with the radio silence? You need to answer me when I call. What's with the radio silence? You need to answer me when
I think that'll do for our purpose. So you're going to go ahead and render that in place.
Okay, that's done.
You'll also notice that the file that we rendered still has the edits and the crossfades in.
Right.
So it's literally processed it with handles, right?
That's it, yeah. So I can continue to make edits and crossfades. My other fades are still there. They haven't been rendered in because they're in real time now.
Right. So plenty of flexibility. In fact, we're working on the ability to do the entire file underneath, not just the handles.
Right, exactly.
All right, cool. Well, this happens quite a bit. She has several lines in the movie that are going to need this effect.
Yeah.
So how can we bring this up quickly?
Okay, so what we want to do is save this effect somehow, but there's two plugins. So what we can do is a neat trick using window configurations. I'm going to do it from the surface. I can bring up my Windows page, and I'm going to make a new window configuration. Let's call it Sierra, if I can spell that. Okay. Now what that's done is that's saved these two plugins open and the settings that we've made. So I can close those, and then as we're working through the project, if I come across another clip that needs the same effect, I can recall it. And the smart switches on the console have little graphic displays on, so I can see that it has the name of my preset here, and I can recall it from there.
Excellent. And then you just simply render that and move on to the next one.
That's it.
That's great. So really a good blend of sort of editorial workflow, file-based processing and, you know, your surface, your integrated surface, right?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Let's move on to a bit of sound design. We'll finish up with a bang. And our secret agent has a 44 Magnum. And our video editors, we don't give them the same sound effects that we have in the audio suite. We have to have something special, right? So you can hear this sound effect is a little bit less than spectacular. Sounds a bit like a toy gun, right? So what we're gonna do is have our sound designer on ISIS, she's on another seat on ISIS, work up something for us, and it's a multi-layered effect, right?
Right, yeah, so she's laid up 3 sounds, set a balance, and then exported that out of her Pro Tools system as a grouped clip.
Okay.
So we can go into our workspace and find that on the ISIS 5000, and I'm just gonna drag that into my effects group there.
Okay, so you can see it's a mono and 2 stereo files, and she's already created her editor's blend of how she thinks it should be.
That's it.
Using clip gain, right?
Yeah. So I'm going to zoom in. We can actually open this up and see what the individual sounds that she used. I can change the levels that she's set there.
Okay.
We can regroup them, and then we can treat it as one clip with gain and also for editing.
Very, very cool. All right, so Simon's going to go ahead and spot these into place, and you'll notice our satellite media composer playing back DNX36 high-quality picture is locking very nicely along here as he works, and you can nudge frame by frame to find each muzzle flash. At this point, we'd like to show off the console a bit and some of the Yukon Phase 2 development that we're working on, the protocol to connect to Pro Tools, right?
Yeah, so let's do some real-time mixing. I'm going to get you to come and help me. I shall be your assistant.
All right. So, Simon, if you could bring up some faders here for the effects.
Okay, so we have an effects layout here that's just our faders for the effects channels.
Okay.
I'm going to solo those.
Yep.
Let's bring them up on the screen so everyone can see what you're doing.
Right, so you've got the Pro Tools now. I don't want to fight any automation that may already be written on these channels, so can we do this in preview mode?
Yeah, so we have this really powerful feature in Pro Tools, which is preview, that lets you try out different sounds and then you can commit to them afterwards as automation. We can get to that from the surface now, so let's do that.
It's my favorite mode.
Yeah,
preview.
Yeah.
All right, so you can see as I grab the faders, everything turns green blinking, meaning it's isolated from automation. So, all right, let's adjust the blend. Now that's a gunshot. I'm going to add some reverb on the sends here, and I'm also going to bring up the return. And we'll also tweak the plugin, the reverb plugin.
We'll listen to that. So Tom's opened up a surround reverb there from the console. He now has access to all the parameters on that channel strip. You can see on the camera there that you get a color coding. So the blue is telling us that he's looking at plugin parameters.
We'll also add a bit of EQ, I think, Simon.
Okay. So now we've gone all purple so we can see the EQ. Up on the left there, you can see a feed from the desk there showing what we're looking at on the screen. So we have our EQ curve there. You can see exactly what Tom's doing. Tom's not even really paying much attention to the software at this point because he's getting so much information off the desk.
It's great. All right, let's...
I don't have anything to do.
Yeah.
I'll just hit play.
Let's check the blend. Fantastic. I'm happy with that. Now, before we punch this into place, it'd be nice to sort of keep that level, all the things that I've set as a snapshot.
No problem. So again, this is available on the surface. There's the capture function. I could store that as one of the 48 automation snapshots on the desk. And we can recall that, in this case, just for this gun, but it could be a whole scene that we might need again later on in the movie.
Great.
So that's done. I'm going to say right, so we want to keep that automation, and that's that scene done.
Fantastic. Well, before we say goodbye, I'd like to thank you for coming to our demo. And we really do appreciate your input and feedback. In fact, all of these features that we're working on have come from users just like you. We'll leave you with a scene from Agent MX0, and thank you very much. We really appreciate it.
You got multiple tangles on the rooftop. You going two? I can't hold it here long. Let's go, 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 go!
This is X-Ray you have initiated the extraction and we do not yet have visual. Do you copy? Zero, come in. Do you copy? This is X-ray control. Zero, do you copy?
I repeat, Zero, do you copy?
Zero, where are you? Come in. Zero.
Easy, Sierra. I'm here.